The Mercedes S-Class screeched to a halt just as Cole Parker slammed his rusty Honda Civic into the last empty parking space at West Ridge Elementary School. His heart was still pounding from the mad dash across town after his construction job had run late. He had exactly 3 minutes to get to his daughter Emma's holiday concert before she would go on stage. He was halfway out of his car when an angry horn blared behind him. Cole turned to see a sleek black luxury car, its driver looking none too pleased. "Are you serious right now?" A woman in a tailored navy suit stepped out, designer heels clicking on the asphalt as she approached. Her auburn hair was pulled back in a severe bun that accentuated her sharp cheekbones and piercing green eyes. "Excuse me," Cole asked, locking his car. "I was clearly waiting for that spot." Her voice was controlled but ice cold. "I had my turn signal on for at least 30 seconds. Cole glanced at his watch. 2 minutes. "Look, I'm sorry, but I didn't see any signal. My daughter's concert starts in literally 2 minutes and I can't miss it." "And you think my reason for being here is less important?" She crossed her arms, a diamond watch glinting on her wrist. "I've been circling this lot for 10 minutes. "Then you'll understand why I took the first spot I saw," Cole replied, trying to keep his voice even despite his rising frustration. "I'm a single dad who just worked a 12-hour shift, and I promised my daughter I'd be here. And I promised my nephew," she stopped herself. "Never mind. You clearly believe your obligations trump everyone else's." Cole ran a hand through his dark hair, acutely aware of his paint-splattered jeans and worn work boots next to her immaculate appearance. "Look, I don't have time to argue. I'm sorry about the spot, but I need to go." "Typical," she muttered. "Just take whatever you want without considering others." Something in Cole snapped. "You know what? Not all of us have fancy cars and the luxury of getting places early. Some of us are juggling 3 jobs and childcare and trying our best not to let our kids down." He started backing away. "So yeah, I took the spot, sue me." He turned and jogged toward the school entrance, his tool-roughened hands clutching the small bouquet of daisies he'd picked up for Emma. Behind him, he heard the woman say something about entitlement, but he was already pushing through the double doors. Cole slipped into the auditorium just as the kindergartners were filing onto the stage. 7-year-old Emma, standing in the second row in her reindeer costume, spotted him immediately. Her face lit up with such pure joy that the parking lot confrontation instantly faded from his mind. He waved the daisies, and she gave him a tiny wave back before assuming her performance position. What Cole didn't notice was the woman from the parking lot sliding into the row behind him, her irritation slowly melting into something like curiosity as she watched the interaction between father and daughter. Alexandra Lawson had planned to leave after dropping off her nephew's forgotten science project, but something kept her in that uncomfortable auditorium chair. Maybe it was professional curiosity about the man who'd so fiercely defended his right to that parking spot. As CEO of Lawson Development Group, she was used to assessing people quickly, their motivations, their weaknesses, their potential. This man was an enigma. His clothes suggested manual labor, yet his articulation during their argument hinted at education. His fierce devotion to his daughter was evident in how he'd raced to be here, despite clearly coming straight from work. The children sang with enthusiasm, if not talent. Alexandra found herself smiling at their earnest performances. When the little girl in the reindeer costume, clearly the daughter of parking spot man, stepped forward for a solo, Alexandra was surprised by the child's confident voice. The man in front of her leaned forward slightly, his entire body radiating pride. After the performance, Alexandra watched as the man presented the daisies to his daughter, who jumped into his arms with uninhibited delight. Something twisted in Alexandra's chest, not quite envy, but a recognition of something missing in her own meticulously organized life. She was about to leave when she noticed the man's daughter pointing in her direction, clearly recognizing her from the parking lot. Alexandra froze as the pair approached. "Hi," the little girl said brightly. "I'm Emma. Did you like our concert?" Alexandra found herself smiling despite her lingering irritation. "I did. You have a lovely voice." "Thank you," Emma beamed. My daddy says I get it from my mommy, who's in heaven now. Alexandra's eyes flicked to the man, whose expression tightened briefly. I'm Cole Parker, he said, extending a hand that bore calluses and a thin white scar across the palm. And I believe I owe you an apology for earlier. Alexandra hesitated before taking his hand. Alexandra Lawson, and maybe I overreacted a bit. You had a nephew to see too? Cole asked. Yes, though just to drop off his science project. He'd left it at my house last night. She smiled slightly. So your reason was definitely more time-sensitive than mine. Emma tugged at her father's jacket. Daddy, can we go get ice cream now? You promised. Cole's expression flickered with something Alexandra couldn't quite read. Well, sweetie, I think we should probably head home. It's a school night. Alexandra noticed his quick glance at his wallet pocket. Money was tight, she realized. The man had probably already spent his ice cream budget on the daisies. Actually, Alexandra heard herself saying, I was just thinking about getting some ice cream myself. There's that new place on 5th Street I've been meaning to try. Perhaps you two would join me. As an apology for my behavior earlier, Emma immediately jumped at the idea, but Cole's pride was evident in his hesitation. That's really not necessary, he said. Please, Daddy. Emma looked up at him with wide eyes. Miss Alexandra wants ice cream too. Alexandra watched the internal struggle play out on Cole's face before he relented. If you're sure it's not an inconvenience, he said carefully. Not at all, I insist. At the ice cream shop, Emma chatted animatedly about her teacher, her best friend Zoe, and how she was learning to read chapter books. Alexandra found herself genuinely engaged, asking questions and laughing at the girl's unfiltered observations about the world. Cole mostly listened, seemingly bewildered by the situation. When Emma went to the bathroom, accompanied by Cole's cautious gaze until she was safely inside, an awkward silence fell between the adults. She's remarkable, Alexandra said finally. She is, Cole agreed, his face softening. And too smart for her own good sometimes. How long have you been? Alexandra trailed off, uncertain how to ask. A widower, Cole supplied. 3 years, cancer, Emma was 4. I'm sorry, Cole shrugged, but the casualness of the gesture was belied by the tightness around his eyes. We're managing. What about you? Married, kids? Alexandra shook her head. Divorced, no children. My company is my baby. What company? Lawson Development Group. We're primarily in commercial real estate. Recognition dawned on Cole's face. Wait, Lawson Development. You're building the new complex downtown, Alexandra nodded, surprised. Phase 1 is almost complete. I'm on that site, Cole said. Parker Construction. We're handling the interior finishing on the main tower. You're a contractor. Small business owner, Cole corrected with a hint of pride. Started as a carpenter's apprentice after high school, worked my way up. Took over the business when my old boss retired 5 years ago. Before Alexandra could respond, Emma returned, and the conversation shifted back to safer topics. As they were leaving, Alexandra found herself reluctant to end the evening. This was unexpected, Cole said as they stood in the parking lot. But nice, thank you. It was my pleasure, Alexandra replied, surprised to find she meant it. Can we do it again? Emma asked hopefully. Maybe Miss Alexandra could come see my soccer game on Saturday. Cole looked mortified. Emma, I'm sure Miss Lawson has much more important things to do on her weekend. Alexandra should have agreed. Her Saturday was already packed with meetings and a charity luncheon. But looking at Emma's hopeful face and Cole's embarrassed one, she found herself recalibrating her schedule mentally. Actually, she said, I'd love to see you play, Emma. What time is the game? Cole looked stunned as Alexandra entered the game details into her phone calendar. Well then, he said, I guess we'll see you Saturday. I guess you will, Alexandra replied, wondering what exactly she was getting herself into. The next morning, Alexandra couldn't stop thinking about the Parker family as she reviewed quarterly projections in her corner office. Cole Parker's company name had been familiar once she heard it, a small but well-respected operation that had submitted competitive bids on several of her projects. She pulled up his file and was impressed by the consistently positive reviews from project managers. Miss Lawson. Her assistant, Jeremy, appeared at the door. The contractor meeting is starting in 5 minutes. Thank you, Jeremy, I'll be right there. The meeting was supposed to be handled by her VP of construction, but Alexandra found herself walking into the conference room, surprising both her team and the contractors present. Her eyes immediately found Cole, who was seated near the end of the table in a clean button-down shirt that was a far cry from his paint-splattered appearance of the previous day. His surprise at seeing her was evident, but he maintained his professional composure as she took her place at the head of the table. "I wasn't expecting you today, Alexandra," her VP said quietly. "Just thought I'd check in on our flagship project," she replied smoothly. "Please continue." Throughout the meeting, she found herself impressed by Cole's contributions. He was knowledgeable, articulate, and had clearly done his homework on the project specifications. When he proposed an alternative approach to the interior finish work that would save both time and money, she found herself nodding appreciatively. After the meeting, Cole approached her cautiously. "I didn't know you'd be here today," he said. "I don't usually attend these meetings," Alexandra admitted, "but I was curious about the progress." Cole smiled slightly. "And it had nothing to do with wanting to see if I was as competent as I claimed to be." Alexandra felt a blush creep up her neck. "Perhaps a bit of professional curiosity as well. And the verdict, Parker Construction seems to be as good as its reputation," she said, trying to maintain her professional tone despite the warmth spreading through her chest at his smile. "High praise from Alexandra Lawson. I'll take it." He glanced at his watch. "I should get going. I've got to pick up Emma from after-school care by 5. "Of course," Alexandra said. "See you Saturday." "Looking forward to it," Cole replied, and Alexandra was surprised to realize she was too. Saturday morning found Alexandra sitting on uncomfortable aluminum bleachers, watching small children chase a soccer ball with varying degrees of skill and direction. Emma, to her credit, seemed to have a natural athleticism that set her apart from her teammates. Cole sat beside Alexandra, occasionally jumping to his feet to cheer or offer encouragement. "She's good," Alexandra said after Emma made a particularly impressive play. "She is," Cole agreed proudly, "though I can't take any credit for it. Neither Christine nor I were particularly athletic." "Christine was your wife," Cole nodded, his expression softening. "She was a graphic designer, incredibly creative. Emma gets that from her too." Alexandra felt a pang of something like jealousy, which was ridiculous. Of course this man had loved his wife. That was nothing to be envious of. "It must be hard," she said softly, "raising her alone." Cole was quiet for a moment, watching his daughter on the field. "Some days are harder than others. The logistics can be a nightmare trying to run a business while making sure she's always taken care of. But Emma," he smiled, "she makes it all worth it." After the game, Emma insisted Alexandra join them for their traditional post-game pizza lunch. Once again, Alexandra found herself rearranging her mental schedule to accommodate the request. At the casual pizza place, Alexandra felt conspicuously overdressed in her designer jeans and cashmere sweater, but neither Parker seemed to notice or care. Emma chattered excitedly about her game, while Cole gently corrected her exaggerations with obvious affection. "So what made you want to be a CEO?" Emma asked suddenly, fixing Alexandra with a direct gaze that reminded her of Cole's. "Emma, that's a bit personal," Cole admonished gently. "It's okay," Alexandra assured him before turning to Emma. "My father started the company, and I always wanted to be like him. When I was about your age, I used to go to his office and pretend his big chair was mine. And now it is," Emma said, impressed. "And now it is," Alexandra agreed, omitting the years of proving herself, the MBA, the long hours, and the personal sacrifices that had gone into making that childhood dream a reality. "My daddy has his own company too," Emma said proudly. "He builds things." "Yes, he does," Alexandra said, smiling at Cole, "and he's very good at it." Cole looked slightly embarrassed by the praise. "It's a small operation compared to Lawson Development." "Size isn't everything," Alexandra replied. "Quality matters more. And from what I've seen, Parker Construction delivers quality." The conversation flowed easily, and Alexandra was surprised to find herself relaxing in a way she rarely did in social situations. Usually, Even her personal interactions were tinged with networking objectives or strategic considerations. With the Parkers, she was just Alexandra, not CEO Lawson or the face of a development empire. As they walked to their cars afterward, Cole hanging back slightly as Emma skipped ahead, Alexandra found herself reluctant to part ways. "This was nice," she said. "It was," Cole agreed. "But I'm still not entirely sure why someone like you is spending your Saturday with us." "Someone like me." Alexandra raised an eyebrow. "You know what I mean," Cole gestured vaguely. "CEO corner office probably has a calendar booked with important meetings and fancy lunches." Alexandra felt a flicker of irritation. "And that means I can't enjoy watching a children's soccer game and eating pepperoni pizza." "That's not what I meant," Cole said quickly. "It's just, we're probably not the kind of people you usually spend time with." Alexandra considered this. Maybe that's exactly why I enjoyed it so much. Their eyes met and something shifted in the air between them. Cole took a half step closer before Emma called out, breaking the moment. "I should go," Alexandra said, suddenly feeling uncertain. "I actually do have some work to catch up on this afternoon." "Of course," Cole nodded. "Thanks for coming today, it meant a lot to Emma." "Just to Emma?" Alexandra couldn't help asking. Cole's smile was warm and genuine. "No, not just to Emma." Over the next few weeks, Alexandra found herself drawn more and more into the Parkers' world. She attended another soccer game, helped Emma with a school project about different careers, and even joined them for a movie night at their modest home, a small but well-maintained bungalow in a middle-class neighborhood. Cole's pride in his home was evident in the careful renovations. He'd completed himself the built-in bookshelves in the living room, the custom kitchen island, the treehouse in the backyard that he'd built for Emma's 6th birthday. What started as occasional meetings became regular occurrences. Alexandra found herself rearranging her schedule to accommodate school pickups when Cole was stuck at a job site or bringing dinner when she knew he'd been working overtime. She told herself it was just being helpful to a single parent, but she knew there was more to it. Cole was unlike any man she'd ever dated. Her ex-husband had been from her world ambitious, polished, and ultimately more interested in what her family connections could do for his career than in building a life together. Cole, by contrast, was straightforward and authentic. His ambitions were simpler, but no less meaningful: to provide for his daughter, to build his business honestly, to create beautiful things with his hands. For his part, Cole seemed equally fascinated by Alexandra's world, asking thoughtful questions about her business decisions and listening attentively to her explanations of complex development deals. He never seemed intimidated by her success, only genuinely interested in understanding it. One evening, after Emma had gone to bed, they sat on Cole's back porch with glasses of wine, talking in low voices beneath the string lights he'd installed. "Can I ask you something personal?" Cole said suddenly. "Of course." "Why aren't you married, or with someone?" he rushed to clarify. "I mean, you're successful, intelligent, beautiful. It just seems like you'd have people lining up." Alexandra laughed softly. "I was married, briefly, right out of business school. It didn't work out." "What happened?" She took a sip of wine, considering how much to share. "David was very charming and very ambitious. He saw my family's company as an opportunity. When my father made it clear that I would be taking over eventually, not his son-in-law, well, the marriage became less appealing to him." Cole's expression darkened. "That's awful," Alexandra shrugged. "It was a long time ago, and a valuable lesson about keeping business and personal life separate." She glanced at him. "A rule I seem to be breaking with you." "Is that what we're doing, mixing business and personal?" Cole's voice was careful, measured. "Aren't we?" Alexandra asked. "You work on my company's biggest project, and here I am, drinking wine on your porch. And if I weren't working on that project, if we just met in that parking lot and argued over a spot," Alexandra smiled, "then I'd still be here, and maybe that's what scares me." Cole reached across the space between them and took her hand. His palm was warm, slightly rough from years of physical work. "It scares me too," he admitted. "Not just because you're, well, you, but because of Emma. She's already getting attached to you. And I have to be careful about who I bring into her life." "I understand that," Alexandra said softly. She's your priority, she should be. But that doesn't mean there isn't room for someone else, Cole said, his thumb tracing circles on her wrist. If that someone understands what they're getting into. Alexandra looked at their joined hands. I've never dated someone with a child before. I'm not sure I know how to do this. I'm not sure anyone does, Cole replied with a slight smile. We're all just figuring it out as we go along. He leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted to. Alexandra closed the distance between them, their lips meeting in a gentle kiss that quickly deepened. When they finally pulled apart, both were slightly breathless. So, Cole said, his voice husky, are we doing this? Really doing this? Alexandra nodded, surprising herself with how certain she felt. Yes, I think we are. Dating as a CEO and single father came with unique challenges. Their schedules often conflicted, with Alexandra's evening meetings colliding with Emma's bedtime routine. Cole was reluctant to introduce too many changes to his daughter's life too quickly, and Alexandra respected his caution, even as she found herself wanting more time with both of them. The business relationship added another layer of complexity. Alexandra was careful to recuse herself from decisions directly involving Parker Construction, delegating oversight to her VP to avoid any appearance of favoritism. Still, whispers inevitably began within the company about the boss's new relationship. Alexandra was used to being the subject of corporate gossip, but found herself unusually protective of Cole's reputation. She didn't want anyone thinking he'd received contracts. Because of their personal connection, his work stood on its own merits. The real turning point came 2 months into their relationship, when Alexandra arrived at Cole's house for dinner to find Emma in tears and Cole looking exhausted. What's wrong? Alexandra asked, setting down the dessert she'd brought. Mrs. Wilson has the flu, Cole explained, referring to their elderly neighbor who often watched Emma after school. And the after-school program is full for tomorrow. I've called everyone I know, but I can't find anyone to watch Emma, and I have a critical meeting with the suppliers for the Lawson project that I can't reschedule. Emma sniffled from the couch. I told Daddy I'm old enough to stay home alone, but he won't listen. You're 7, sweetheart, Cole said, the tension evident in his voice. That's not old enough to stay home alone for hours. Alexandra made a split-second decision. I can take her. Both Parkers looked at her in surprise. You have meetings tomorrow, Cole pointed out. I'll reschedule them, Alexandra said simply. Emma can come to my office. We have a small conference room she can use to do her homework, and my assistant Jeremy loves kids. He'll help keep her entertained. Cole looked torn between gratitude and reluctance. Alexandra, that's a major disruption to your workday. I couldn't ask. You didn't ask. I offered. Alexandra knelt to Emma's eye level. What do you say, Em? Want to see where I work? Emma's face brightened instantly. Can I sit in your big chair? Absolutely, Alexandra promised. Cole's expression was unreadable. Are you sure about this? Completely sure, Alexandra said, standing to face him. This is what people do when they care about each other, right? They help when it's needed. The next day was a revelation for Alexandra. She'd never brought a child to her office before, and Emma's presence changed the dynamic in unexpected ways. The staff, who normally seemed slightly intimidated by Alexandra, softened around Emma, stopping by the conference room to introduce themselves or offer snacks. Alexandra found herself periodically checking on Emma between meetings, enjoying the girl's wide-eyed excitement about everything from the view from the 30th floor to the fancy coffee machine in the break room. By the end of the day, Emma had charmed the entire executive floor and created an impressive crayon rendering of a future building design that Alexandra proudly displayed on her credenza. When Cole arrived to pick Emma up, his face showed equal parts gratitude and something deeper that made Alexandra's heart race. Thank you, he said simply, his eyes conveying everything words couldn't. That evening, after Emma was asleep, Cole turned to Alexandra on the couch. Today meant everything to me, he said quietly. Not just that you helped with Emma, but how you helped. You didn't just solve the problem, you made it special for her. You made her feel important. She is important, Alexandra said simply. I know, but not everyone sees that. Christine's parents have barely been in Emma's life since the funeral. They found it too painful, they said. Cole's voice held old hurt. And dating as a single parent, most women I've met either see Emma as an obstacle or try too hard to immediately become her mother. You've just been. You. With her, real and present, Alexandra felt a lump forming in her throat. I'm falling in love with both of you, she admitted. I didn't expect that. I didn't go looking for it, but here we are. Cole's expression softened. I'm in love with you, Alexandra, have been for weeks now. The declaration should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like coming home. 6 months later, Alexandra found herself in another parking lot dispute with Cole. This time, they were arguing over whose car to take to Emma's school play. We should take yours, Cole insisted. It's more reliable. But yours has the booster seat already installed, Alexandra countered, gesturing to his newer SUV, a practical upgrade he'd made after his business had expanded, partly due to the excellent reputation he'd built on the Lawson project. We can move it, Cole said, checking his watch. We have time. Alexandra sighed dramatically. Fine, but I'm driving. You're too stressed. Cole laughed, tossing her the keys. I'm not stressed, just excited. It's not every day your daughter plays the lead in the school musical. True, Alexandra agreed, sliding into the driver's seat. Though according to Emma, her real excitement is showing off the ring after the show. Cole grinned, glancing at the elegant emerald-cut diamond on Alexandra's left hand, a recent addition that had prompted squeals of delight from Emma when they'd told her about their engagement. She did help me pick it out, he reminded her. You two and your secrets, Alexandra said fondly. I still can't believe you managed to surprise me. CEO Alexandra Lawson, surprised by a humble contractor. Cole teased, using the description that had appeared in the business journals right up of their engagement. Humble is not a word I'd use to describe you, Cole Parker, Alexandra retorted, pulling into the school parking lot, the same one where they'd had their first encounter just over a year ago. As if reading her thoughts, Cole pointed to a spot near the entrance. Hey, look, where it all began. Alexandra smiled, expertly maneuvering the SUV into the space. Who would have thought arguing over a parking spot would lead to this? Cole reached over and squeezed her hand, his touch still sending the same thrill through her as it had the first time. I'm glad you were so stubborn about that spot. I'm glad you stood your ground, Alexandra countered. If you'd backed down, I might never have noticed you. Oh, you'd have noticed me eventually, Cole said confidently. We were meant to collide, one way or another. As they walked hand in hand toward the school entrance, Alexandra reflected on how dramatically her life had changed in a year. Her priorities had shifted. Her schedule had adjusted to accommodate school plays and soccer games alongside board meetings, and her luxurious downtown penthouse now held colorful artwork on the fridge and a collection of stuffed animals in the guest room that was slowly becoming Emma's second bedroom. The corporate world had initially buzzed with speculation about the CEO and the contractor, but their relationship had proven its staying power. Cole's business continued to thrive on its own merit, and Alexandra had found that making time for family had actually made her a more effective leader, more empathetic, more balanced, more willing to delegate. Inside the auditorium, they took their seats in the front row, saved by Emma's insistence to her teacher that her parents needed to be close enough to really see her acting. The word parents had brought tears to Alexandra's eyes when Emma had first used it to describe her several months ago. As the lights dimmed and the elementary school production began, Cole slipped his arm around Alexandra's shoulders, pulling her close. Thank you, he whispered. For what? She asked, turning to look at his profile in the dim light. For arguing with me in a parking lot, for giving us a chance. For loving my daughter, for saying yes. He turned to face her, his eyes sincere. For everything, Alexandra leaned in to kiss him softly. Thank you for showing me what really matters. The curtain rose, revealing Emma in her costume, her face lighting up when she spotted them. She gave a tiny wave before composing herself back into character, ever the professional. Alexandra felt Cole's arm tighten around her shoulders and leaned into his strength, perfectly content in this school auditorium that smelled of floor polish and nervous children. A year ago, she would have considered this evening a poor use of her valuable time. Now, she couldn't imagine being anywhere else. As Emma delivered her first line with perfect clarity, Alexandra and Cole exchanged a look of shared pride and love not just for Emma, but for the family they had become and the future they were building together, one day at a time.